Good afternoon, everybody. The number one topic of discussion at Cabinet today was the Auckland floods. The government's committed to playing its part to get our biggest city back on its feet as quickly as possible. As at 1 o'clock today, Northland also declared a state of emergency with significant rainfall expected. Kaitaia is expected to be significantly affected, and NEMA is going to be monitoring that situation closely. Today, Cabinet agreed to make a further $1 million contribution to the Auckland Mayoral Relief Fund to assist in the initial emergency response. That's the most significant contribution to a mayoral relief fund ever, and it allows the council to ensure funding gets to the various community providers that have emerged to assist Aucklanders affected by the floods. That funding is just one part of the government's overall contribution to getting Auckland back on its feet. The Ministry of Social Development has so far paid out over $2.5 million in civil defence grants to over 6,000 individuals. The New Zealand Defence Force is assisting with the clean-up effort, and Waka Kotahi has ensured that all state highways in Auckland have been reopened. We stand at the ready to provide assistance where we can. Further discussions are taking place on the support that we can provide to help Auckland businesses recover. I'll be travelling back to Auckland tomorrow, and I plan to be there Wednesday and Thursday on the ground to meet with those affected by the floods, to support our responders, and to ensure that government support is available and getting to where it is needed the most. When I was elected as the leader of the Labour Party, I said that my government's number one priority will be the cost of living and ensuring that hard-working New Zealanders, particularly families, can get ahead and thrive. I indicated the government would refocus on core bread and butter issues like education, health, housing, and keeping communities and businesses safe. That means a greater focus on what's in front of us right now. As the recent flooding has highlighted, New Zealanders want the government focused on the key issues that are affecting them, because life can be pretty tough for many. While a cabinet reshuffle was signalled at the end of last year, the decisions that I'm announcing today are mine, and they emphasise the greater focus on the priorities that I've established for the government. I've balanced the need for stability with renewal. New Zealanders want to see the government getting on with the job, but I also want to demonstrate the depth of our talent and to bring some new energy and focus to the tasks ahead. So I want to set out some key changes. Our top team of myself, Carmel Sepuloni, Kelvin Davis, Grant Robertson, and Megan Woods will continue to provide stability, experience, and proven leadership. As I've previously indicated, Grant Robertson will remain the Minister of Finance. He has seen New Zealand households and businesses through the greatest economic shock since the Great Depression. His steady hand on the economy has ensured that we've got one of the lowest unemployment rates ever, and that government debt levels are amongst the lowest in the developed world. New Zealand has growth stronger than most other economies that we compare ourselves to. And last year we saw record export earnings and, of course, the return of tourism. There is so much to be optimistic about in terms of our economy. But we know that 2023 has the potential to be tough going on households and those running businesses as the global cost of living continues to bite. So we're giving Grant the time and the support to apply his full focus on fighting inflation and helping New Zealand families and businesses. Joining the economic team of Grant, Megan and David Parker is Michael Wood. He will be moving to number 7 in the Cabinet and picking up an associate finance portfolio. But even more significantly, I'm appointing Michael as the Minister for Auckland. When Auckland succeeds, the country succeeds. I know that the last few years have been particularly tough for the City of Sales. I want to have a minister with a focus on the city, and on aligning this with his transport, and by aligning this with his transport portfolio, we'll be ensuring that Auckland has the senior ministerial focus that it needs. I know that's going to be even more important following the events of recent days. Education is core to our success as a country. As the former education minister, I know that when our children and young people are attending school or training, When they're engaged with their learning and supported to succeed, we have the recipe for success as a nation. As a foremost principal and education expert, Jan Tinetti is uniquely placed to address the post-COVID challenges our education system has faced and to get our kids back into the classroom and learning. Jan moves to number 6 in the Cabinet and picks up the whole of the education portfolio, including tertiary education, and she'll also take on responsibility for child poverty reduction. Dr. Aisha Verrall will become the Minister of Health and moves to number 8 in the Cabinet rankings. An infectious diseases expert, she brings almost 20 years of knowledge of how our health system works and, of course, how it can be improved. Willie Jackson moves up to number 9, retaining his existing portfolios and picking up an Associate Minister for Social Development and Employment focused on Māori employment. Kiri Allen rounds out the front bench. She retains justice and picks up regional development in an Associate Transport role, adding her expertise to the economic strength of our regions. Stuart Nash remains Minister of Economic Development and Forestry and also picks up police and also the Oceans and Fisheries portfolio. Andrew Little will bring his extensive experience as a minister to the portfolios of Public Service and Defence. He's also retaining the GCSB, NZSIS, Treaty of Waitangi negotiations and continues to lead the government's response to the Royal Commission's report into the Christchurch terror attack. Penny Henardi picks up ACC from Carmel Sepuloni, Tourism from Stuart Nash and an Associate Environment role. He carries on with Whana Ora and as the Associate Minister of Health with responsibility for Māori health. Nanaia Mahuta retains her Foreign Affairs portfolio, her Associate Māori Development role, and picks up disarmament and arms control. Kieran McAnulty moves into the Cabinet, picking up the full local government portfolio and also Minister responsible for rural communities. He retains emergency management and racing and will be the Deputy Leader of the House. I've appointed Ginny Anderson as a Cabinet Minister. She'll become the Minister for the Digital Economy and Communications, Minister for Small Business, Minister for Seniors, Associate Minister of Immigration and Associate Minister of Treaty of Waitangi negotiations. And I've also appointed Barbara Edmonds as a Minister in the Cabinet. She will become Minister of Internal Affairs, Minister for Pacific Peoples, Associate Health Minister with responsibility for Pacific Peoples and Associate Minister of Housing. Dr. Duncan Webb, Willow Jean Prime, Reno Tirakatani and Dr. Deborah Russell will join Meka Whaitiri as ministers outside the Cabinet. And finally, Joe Luxton will become a Parliamentary Under-Secretary to the Minister of Agriculture and Minister of Education. I do want to thank those ministers who are departing for their incredible service. So to Poto Williams, Dr. David Clark, Opito Williams-Seo, Phil Twyford, and of course, Jacinda Ardern, a very warm thank you. Today's reshuffle highlights the depth of talent in the Labour team. We know we have a big job ahead of us, but I know that my team are all deeply connected to their communities and will represent both the diversity of New Zealand and the core issues everyday Kiwis are experiencing. The government hears loud and clear that many New Zealanders and many families are struggling. You want us focused on what most matters to you, and in this Cabinet are the people to do that. Some have experienced many of those struggles themselves. But this reshuffle is just the first step. Over the coming days and weeks, you'll see us put our words into action with policies to support New Zealanders by reprioritising existing programs so that we can free up resources to help with issues such as the cost of living. Now happy to take questions.